All right, testing, testing.
All right. Hey.
Testing. My mic sounds nice.
Check one.
All right.
Welcome to the HBCU homecoming.
All right. Tonight, we want to take some time to introduce you all to what life is like at an HBCU. You're going to be able to hear a lot of details. We're going to be answering a lot of questions for you. We want you to have fun, and we want you all to be able to prepare for the MCPS HBCU Fair this weekend. To kick off the evening, here is a welcome message from our Grand Marshal, Dr. Monifa McKnight, an alumni of South Carolina State University.
And welcome to the HBCU Homecoming event. I am Dr. Monifa McKnight, Superintendent of Montgomery County Public Schools, and I welcome you to the annual Historically Black Colleges and Universities Fair. As a proud graduate of South Carolina State University, I know firsthand the power of an HBCU education and experience. To this day, I had fond memories and still stay in contact with many friends who I've developed relationships with, sorority sisters, professors, all who have cultivated my life in so many different ways. Every day I am thankful for that experience. And today, I still make a pledge to be involved and be a part of the South Carolina State Alumni chapter. The rich legacy of our 107 HBCUs has cultivated great minds. We have a U.S. Supreme Court Justice, a NASA astronaut, and most recently, the first woman vice president of the United States, to name just a few. And we all know she graduated from Howard University, an HBCU. Thank you to all participating in HBCUs, our MCPS team, and the Montgomery County Alliance of Black School Educators for making this very important event possible. Be sure to ask questions, explore the possibilities, and please make sure you attend and enjoy the HBCU Fair. Thank you so much, and best wishes to you all.
Good evening, and we are so glad to have students and families to the HBCU alumni event today. My name is Byron Johns. I am the education chair for the NAACP Montgomery County and the chair of the Parents Council within MCPS. So I wanted to first welcome you to this event where we will hear from a number of HBCU alumni who are teachers and in various roles within MCPS. I am thrilled that we are doing this and hope we will continue to do this every year. I am an alumni of an HBCU. In fact, I'm an alumni of Morehouse College. One of the reasons I chose to go to Morehouse is because of its track record of excellence. Obviously, people know alumni like Martin Luther King, but Maynard Jackson, who was the mayor of Atlanta. I ran track, frankly, with Edwin Moses, the Olympian. Spike Lee went to Morehouse, and he was class behind me. I was a physics major at Morehouse and electrical engineering major, and finished with both degrees in their 5-year program. After that, I did go to University of Michigan for graduate school, and I went to Yale for international management. So what Morehouse did for me is gave me the foundation that allowed me to, one, aspire and know that I could do the work. And it removed many of the barriers that many of my colleagues and people that I grew up with found that in predominantly white institutions, there is a burden sometimes that you feel to need to prove yourself, or you've got to go the extra mile to get half the credit. That was off the table. The expectation is you're going to do well. And one of the things I found my professors did there, they never questioned whether I should go to graduate school. They would jokingly argue, which graduate school I should go to. And so they framed the argument in a way that it set my expectations to continue on and on. It has been profoundly impactful and has opened doors that, frankly, I didn't know were even existed for me. So for that, I want you to all consider HBCUs. It has probably been the most impactful decision in my life and for the generations that come after me. So thank you. Please use the opportunity, the fair, all the things that we have worked so hard to make sure that are available for you. These are life-changing decisions, and we hope that you will avail yourself of the opportunities before you. Take care and enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you.
All right. Good evening again to those of you that are just joining us. Welcome to MCABSE's HBCU Homecoming event. I am Shawan Robinson, one of your co-hosts for this evening, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Troy Body.
And good evening, everyone. And Shawan, it is so good to see you. I feel like we're having our own little homecoming because many of you all don't know, Shawan and I taught. I met her when she was a brand new teacher 28 years ago. Oh, was it that long?
Yes, 28.
But it's also
Still
nice.
young.
It's also nice to be back with all my MCPS people. And my name is Dr. Troy Body. I'm a proud graduate of Morehouse College. And you know that you can always tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell them much. And so it is that time of the evening where I want you to get pumped up. I want you to celebrate your HBCU. Now, we're going to show a slideshow, and I want you to represent, unmute, make some noise, and represent your HBCU.
Get ready.
All right, Alabama in the house. Alabama A&M, Selma University,
all right, Arkansas Baptist College, Philander Smith, University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff and Shorter University.
Delaware State University, good old Dover.
All right. Woo-hoo!
All right now.
All right, the District of Columbia.
What's all that noise? Howard is in the house. Florida A and down, Bethune-Cookman, Edward Water Cup, and the Florida Memorial University. Anybody in the house?
Florida A&M, woohoo, fam, you in the house, the best HBCU.
Hey, Georgia, Fort Valley State, Morehouse,
The house.
Spelman, Morris Brown, Albany State, Clark Atlanta, Payne College, Interdenominational Theological Center, and Savannah State University. Where's Georgia?
Georgia's in the house. Kentucky State University. Anybody here from Kentucky State University? All right now.
Louisiana, Dillard, Southern University Shreveport, Grambling, and Southern University of New Orleans. Can't leave out Xavier. Oh, Grambling. All right.
Oh, good old Maryland. We got Bowie in the house. University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Coppin State University, and Morgan State University. In the house.
Oh, Bowie!
All right.
Mississippi, Alcorn, Mississippi Valley State, Jackson State, Rush College, and Blue College. Mississippi.
North Carolina.
ASU.
Livingstone. Livingstone.
North Carolina is represented.
Johnson C. Smith. Johnson C. Smith.
All right.
Right, North Carolina. Ohio, Central State University, and Wilberforce.
All right. Oklahoma, Livingston University.
Pennsylvania, Cheney University, and Lincoln. Cheney.
All right.
I hear you.
North Carolina, Allen University, South Carolina State University, Morris
All
College,
right, go Bulldogs.
University, and Morris College.
Tennessee, represent Knoxville College, Meharry Medical College, Tennessee State, American Baptist College, Lane, and Owen College, Tennessee.
Texas, Paul Quinn, Texas College, Prairie View, A&M. Houston University, Southwestern Christian University, Texas Southern University, Wiley College.
All right, Virginia. Here we go.
LSU. Go Pirates.
Virginia Union. Yes, Virginia State and Virginia University of Lynchburg. Virginia, make some noise.
Hampton University, the standard of excellence. Yes.
West Virginia, West Virginia State, and Bluefield State College.
Right, U.S. Virgin Islands, University of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Anyone? All right.
Okay. Jawan, since you are part of the Divine Nine, would you like to call it out?
All right, where are Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity? Where are you?
A5, 06.
All right. Alpha.
06.
Alpha. All right, AKA. What about Phi Beta Sigma? All right, Zeta Phi Beta. I'm getting you. Any deltas in the house? Delta Sigma Theta. I hear you.
Yes.
Right, Omegas. Any Omegas in the house? Omega Psi-Phi. Ooh, a little quiet. Kappas. Any Kappas in the house? Kappa Alpha Psi.
Yo. Youths in the building.
Okay, all right. Iota Phi Theta. All right, and Sigma Gamma Rho. Right, Divine Nine.
All right, now let's hear it one more time for our HBCUs. Let's show them some love. Make some
you.
All right, thank you all for that. That was fun, Dr. Body.
I know, I'm pumped up. You know, we were talking before we came on air, and we were talking about why we chose a HBCU. Shawan, why'd you go to an HBCU?
Well, I have to say, I attended 3 HBCUs. I went to the University of the District of Columbia, um, and the all right, we got you. All right, and the reason that I chose it is because UDC was the original DC Teachers College, and I knew that I wanted to be a teacher and the rich history at UDC, so that is why I'm here.
Very good.
All right, and so we're going to keep the show moving. We're going to next welcome Lauren Mangrum. Lauren is going to give us a history of HBCUs. All right, that was inspiring. And now we'll hear from Lauren, who will give us a history of HBCUs.
Thanks. I'm Lauren Mangrum, and I am a graduate of Howard University, but I started my education at Hampton University. So I am the best of both HBCUs. So I just have to say that I love them both dearly. Anyways, I'm here to talk about the history of HBCUs. And so I just wanted to get started. Thank you for the slideshow. That's excellent. All right, so HBCUs have been the center of American history for over 180 years. Now that is something to celebrate, 180 years, and that is our history. So historically, Black colleges and universities were established in the United States early in the 19th century to provide undergraduate and graduate level educational opportunities to people of African descent. Black students at that time were unwelcome at existing public and private institutes of higher education, even after the passing of specific legislation, resulting in the lack of higher educational opportunities for African Americans. Richard Humphreys established the African Institute, which we now know as Cheyney University, in Pennsylvania. This is the oldest still operating HBCU in the United States. Its mission was to teach free African Americans skills to gainful employment. Most HBCUs were established in the South, as we saw from our roll call, after the American Civil War, often with the assistance of religious missionary organizations based in the northern United States. During the 1850s, 3 more HBCUs were founded: Minor Normal School in Washington, D.C., Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. Lincoln University, I'll note, became the first degree-granting HBCU. The American Methodist Episcopal Church established Wilberforce University, which was the first HBCU operated by African Americans. The provision of education for people of African descent in early America was recognized by some as unnecessary and even criminal, but others saw it as essential and vital. And boy, are we glad that it was essential and vital, and it has prospered. So by and large, the first HBCU, you can go back to the last slide. By and large, the first HBCU were established to educate the children of formerly enslaved people and train them to teach other Black Americans. But we've come a long way, and now there's different purposes. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about back then. Because HBCUs were the only schools available to African Americans, they often were served as primary, secondary, and post-secondary education for Black students. Following the end of the Civil War and the end of slavery, HBCUs were found throughout the South with the support of the Freedmen's Bureau. The Freedmen's Bureau was a federal organization that operated during the Reconstruction period to help former slaves adjust to freedom. Such institutes as Atlanta University, which we now know as Clark Atlanta University, Howard University, HU, and Morehouse University provided a liberal arts education and trained students for careers as teachers, ministers, or missionaries. But there were other universities that focused on prepping students for industrial or agricultural occupations, such as Florida A&M. Now we know that HBCUs are powerhouses who prepare future leaders in a wide variety of fields like liberal arts, communication, science, technology, engineering, math, politics, and law, and many other fields. HBCUs were established to provide opportunities to African Americans, and they have done this very well. HBCUs are largely responsible for establishing and expanding the African American middle class. Next slide, please. It is important to mention that HBCUs have also survived historical challenges, such as Jim Crow, inadequate funding, deferred maintenance, and accreditation issues. It's also really important to point out the role that HBCUs have played in the fight for civil and human rights. In the early 1960s, HBCUs played a pivotal role in the civil rights movement. The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, also known as SNCC, fought for segregation and was formed at North Carolina Shaw University after a conference of 300 students met. 4 students at North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro launched what we know as the sit-in movement at a nearby lunch counter. The late and notable Congressman John Lewis, then a student at Fisk University in Tennessee, was one of the original freedom fighters who galvanized civil rights protests across the nation, and also had lots of laws that he put into place for us. In 2017, as the Me Too movement captured the nation's attention, a group of students broadcasted the names of alleged rapists on campus of Morehouse and Spelman University. This controversial action led to a creation of a task force to establish anti-assault and healthy relationship training at many of the HBCUs. And just last year, we witnessed Howard University students participate in demonstrations and sit-ins to protest dorm living conditions, safety protocols, and the removal of a student member on the school board of advisors. HBCUs have always been and will continue to be at the center of change in America. So who are we? We are 75% of Black PhDs, 46% of Black business executives, 50% of Black engineers, 80% of Black federal judges, 85% of Black doctors. We are Black attorneys, 50% of them, 75% of Black military officers, 40% of Black dentists, of which my dad was one, 50% of Black pharmacists, and 75% of Black veterinarians. Next slide, please. Thank you for all of this, and we look forward to seeing what you will give us as you join an HBCU.
Thank you so much, Lauren. That history it continues to inspire me that, you know, just a few years after we were freed, we were building universities and colleges. So we're going to now take a look at MCPS staff who graduated and attended HBCUs. So we're going to watch a short video and we're going to come back and continue the presentation.
The reason why I decided to go to an HBCU was because I wanted to be around like-minded people that look like me.
I graduated from a small high school in Columbia, Maryland, and I was really only one of 50 people of color in my graduating class.
Throughout my time from elementary, middle, and high school, I didn't really have a lot of role models and or teachers of color. And it was very instrumental for me to be in a place that I felt supported.
I knew I wanted to go somewhere that was full of culture and history.
At Stonegate Elementary School, we watched a film strip on Martin Luther King. And in the film strip, I learned that Martin Luther King went to Morehouse College when he was 16 years old. And in third grade, I decided that's where I was going to go to college.
I applied to 3 different universities. 2 of them were historically white institutions, 1 HBCU. The biggest advice I can tell you that you'll get a great education wherever you decide to go. But of the 3 that I applied to, the HBCU was then reached back and they gave me the encouragement.
A group of my friends, we rented a car, and for our spring break, we headed south and we hit every HBCU down to Virginia. And I can remember stepping on the campus of, or really every campus we stopped at. We went to Hampton, Howard, Norfolk State, Dell State, Morgan State. But it was something about stepping on the campus of Hampton University where I just felt at home.
I knew I wanted to be in an environment and in a space that was going to uplift me and enhance me, in a place where I could broadcast my strengths.
Walking the campus, just looking at the beauty of the campus, feeling the energy of the students, but most importantly, seeing all of these Black and brown faces from top to bottom was magical to me.
Seen a lot of professors that were also of color too. That was also very inspiring. You know, representation matters, right? So it motivated me to see, like, oh, not all professors are white.
I am a daughter of Howard University, and it was the best decision that I ever made in my entire life.
And HBCU for me was the place that I was given the support that I need to develop as a well-rounded human being.
I'm glad that I was able to be around an environment filled with people who really loved on me and supported my journey.
It was the best decision, intellectually, academically, even professionally, that I have ever made.
My experience going to HBCU has forever changed me, and I encourage you all to highly consider it.
Love my HBCU.
That was awesome to hear. I did a quick wardrobe change. I also went to Bowie State University, where my parents both met, and hence I had to pay homage to, the place where my parents, they made me. So here I am. So I'm also representing Bowie State University as well. All right, and now, as we continue to learn more about HBCUs, let's take a moment to see what life is like for a student at an HBCU. Here to give some highlights is Mr. Joseph Bostic Jr.
Hey, get it up, I fight. Get it up, I fight. Aggie pride. T. You know. So those are just some of the sounds you would hear walking on the yard or the campus of an HBCU. So today I'll be sharing some of those experiences with you young people, and hopefully you will attend a HBCU one day. Should I share my screen or? Perfect. Thank you. So once again, we're here to talk about our HBCUs, our beloved HBCUs. I wanted to start today's presentation by starting it that way with some of the chants and mantras you may hear on the campus. My name is Joseph Bostic Jr. I'm a graduate of Tuskegee University and North Carolina A&T State University, where I majored in electrical engineering. If you can go to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. And one more. Thank you. All right. So on our HBCU campuses, let's talk about dorm life. I remember my first day arriving to campus. Dorm life is very interesting on the HBCU campus. My first year, I was rooming with my high school football teammate. And then the relationships you build that first day on campus where people are moving you into your dorm. You're meeting new people from the West Coast, from the East Coast, from the South. So it's just a great experience. That's where you're going to build most of your relationships. That's where you're going to gain a lot of insight to different classes, different programs you can take advantage of on the campus, which is pretty impactful. Next slide, please. Classes. I remember Dr. Chukwu, he was teaching me teaching one of my electrical engineering classes. It was just that relationship with your professor, the opportunity to have a small ratio in the class, meaning that it's not that many students in your class if you were to attend a PWI, a predominantly white institution. But you get a chance to build relationships with your professor. You get a chance to really have that one-on-one time to build your academias or academics, which is very important when you're thinking about being in a classroom compared to your high school classroom. I remember my professor Chukwu, he used to throw the chalk across the room after he was done teaching, and he would say, "That is it. You can leave the class now." So I never forget those experiences of being in class. Dr. Burns, he taught me physics. Physics was one of my favorite subjects in undergrad, where you talk about building bridges, talk about the mechanics of a lot of things that we see around us. So physics is all around us. Next slide, please. Networking. This is a huge thing. When you get to a HBCU campus, you're kind of forced into networking. So like the first day, I remember we had the opportunity to go register at the Career Center. So most HBCUs have a Career Center where you have the opportunity to put your name on a roster, and you get an opportunity to meet people from a Boeing company. You get a chance to meet people from McDonald's Corporation. And a lot of people say, well, McDonald's, do they really have good jobs? Yes, they have great jobs. So you do not have to just work in a restaurant. You could be the CEO, you could be the person who's the operation manager of McDonald's, and you can actually have that opportunity to network when you're on campus. I remember my Career Center lead, her name was Miss Stringer. And Miss Stringer used to always tell us, you are who you say you are, right? So, you have to put on that paper who you are so you can kind of learn how to network. They're teaching you how to shake hands, how to look people in the eyes when you're having conversations. And more importantly, you're building relationships across the campus. So I started to learn about people in the chemistry department who became my friends, lifelong friends, right? So this is what it's all about, networking, building your network. Your network is your net worth, all right? Next slide. The student union. Oh man, talking about some of those chants and mantras. The student union is where you can go watch the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I know I may be aging myself. People are watching a new version on Peacock, but there was actually a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Will Smith. And we used to watch that in the student union, different shows, The Different World, and other things that we used to take advantage of in the student union. The more important part of the student union was, you get a chance to go to the grill. Most HBCUs have a grill downstairs in the student union or somewhere located in the student union. And it was just a fun experience. You got music, you got the DJ, you have the fraternity stepping on the yard. Ice, oh, sit, yay. So we used to be stepping. A lot of things happening in the student union where you'd be like, man, maybe this was like a Vegas experience, Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas, stay in Vegas. So that's how the student union is. But it was another opportunity to network with your friends and just really relax and chill from your classes. So it was very fun. Next slide, please. Traditions. Oh man, talk about traditions. I think about attending Tuskegee University, where I had the opportunity to meet some of the Tuskegee Airmen, some major people who had an influence on the history. Most HBCUs, you're going to get a chance to enroll in a history class. It's just about Black African-American history, right? Black excellence, Black girl magic, all these little terms that we hear that we may not understand the context of. We get a chance to learn all about that when we're attending a historical Black college and university. What are some other traditions? Some other traditions is you one day could be homecoming king or homecoming queen, meaning that this is our homecoming edition of tonight's program, right? So homecoming is like you're playing a football, your school plays a football game. You have the band that marches down the hill or marches into the stadium. And it's just a phenomenal experience. And you would never forget it. Like to this day, homecoming, I can remember the band marching into the stadium. You think about Aggie Pride down at North Carolina A&T. We have the best homecoming in historical Black college university history. I know some people disagree with that, but we call it the greatest homecoming on earth. And honestly, I never forget it. You have a lot of tents. People are set up. It's like a big tailgate, a big family reunion. So imagine a family reunion and a lot of people out there having a great time. So that's one of the images you see. Traditions, you heard about it in the history. You can have a lot of things happen from a history perspective, meaning, a lot of protesting, things that have occurred on your campus. For us, it was all about George Washington Carver. You hear that name a lot. He did a lot of research at Tuskegee University, Booker T. Washington, a lot of traditional things that you pick up by just being at a historical Black college and university. Next slide, please. Greek life, shout out to all my Greeks. Let me hear you one time, unmute yourself.
Hey, boy! Yo!
So as you can see, this will last for a lifetime, man. I really love it. Wherever you go in the world, you will always have a connection. I remember moving to the frigid temperatures of Boston, Massachusetts, and being in Boston, I was like, man, what am I gonna do in Boston being from Georgia? But thank God for the ice cold Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated 1906. I was able to survive those frigid temperatures and meet a lot of great people and network. There's that word again, network with a lot of folks. A lot of these organizations, we call them the Divine Nine, meaning that they're 9 Greek fraternal / sorority organizations. We get an opportunity to learn a lot of history, not only about the organization, but about change that we have really made in America that we don't often hear about. So that's very important. Next slide. Celebrities, a lot of people you may not know or you often see on television, they are actually graduates of historical Black colleges and universities. How powerful is that? One day you could say, I could be Spike Lee, or I could be Taraji P. Henson, right? These are things that you could say I can look forward to in my life to make a difference for my family. So when you go to a historical Black college or university, it's not only just about having fun, right? But it's about your purpose. It's about your dreams. It's about your goals. So one day you can grow up to be somebody you see on the screen. So think about that. That's pretty cool. Next slide. So this was very interesting. When I was at both of my undergrad and grad colleges, we didn't really hear about the Black diaspora, but when I moved to Boston and I started to do my studies at Northeastern University, I started to learn more about this, right? Because that's a predominantly white institution that I mentioned earlier. And on that campus, it wasn't really a lot of Black African-American students. And so what we had was an African-American Institute. Inside of that African-American Institute, you will see some of the flags that you see on the screen that represents various countries. So they can represent people's backgrounds and things that we would do inside of that African-American Institute to shed light on things that you would normally hear on a campus of a PWI, right? So it's very important that we understand who we are, our root, Sankofa, reflect on our past, looking forward to the future based on the lessons that we learn, right? So when you go to a historical Black college and university, these are some of the things that you can look forward to and be proud about when you graduate, as you can see and hear from a lot of the voices you're going to hear tonight. Next slide. Real world preparation, right? We know that, preparing to fail is failing to prepare is preparing to fail, right? So when you go to a historical Black college or university, like you will be prepared for the real world. And I mean it legitimately, right? So I remember taking a cold shower at each university that I spent time at. Is that a bad thing? No, because when you get older, there will be a time that you need to take that cold shower. There are other things, right? So as far as, you know, getting the opportunity to create your own invention. I remember I've being a graduate student, having the opportunity to do my individual research. And this was preparing me for the real world. So it's very important that when you are on campus, you have fun, you educate yourself, you get a chance to be ready for the real world. I remember when my parents first dropped me off for my undergrad experience. They said, "Are you going to be okay?" I said, "I'm going to be fine." And ever since that day, I never looked back, right? I always would go home and visit, but Tuskegee and North Carolina A&T prepared me for the real world. They gave me tools and resources so that I could be the man that I am today. So when you get to your HBCU, we're already going to speak it into existence. Look forward to being prepared. Prepare for your future. Preparation, right? That's very important. You're going to be engineers, doctors, lawyers, and so forth. Okay? So it's very important that we prepare for that. Be prepared to be a difference maker in our communities. All right? And that's what HBCUs can do for you. Next slide, please. Last but not least, homecoming, right? Homecoming is very important. It's a time where we get with our family and have a great experience, right? Our family is people that we meet in college, people who are going to be in our lives forever. I talk to my friends all the time, and they'll be my friends for a lifetime. And I met them in college. So it's very important that you choose a school that works best for you, right? Don't choose a school because someone else is telling you to choose that school. You select that school that is going to be good for you. And then when you get to your homecomings, that'll be something you remember for a lifetime. I recommend you put it on camera, but you only keep that camera for yourself. Camera recorded for yourself. All right. And I think that should be the last slide. Oh, last but not least, step show. Sorry. All right. You know, I wish it was in person. I'll break out a step for you now. But man, step shows are so fun. We would road trip, go to step shows. We'll have to perform in step shows, which is pretty cool. So I give you a little bit of it now. Ice. All right. So, hey, stepping is fun. I really enjoy being in a step show. It's like one big party, but you get a chance to learn about each individual fraternal organization and sorority organization. So I really hope you enjoy a little bit of what life could be like on campus. But honestly, go to YouTube, type in the name of a college, and just check it out. They have a lot of stuff that you can see about the yard and so forth. And marching bands, that's the only regret I have about school. I wish I could have been a drum major, where I could have be the leader of the band. That's the only regret I have. But man, every football game or historical Black college and university, most people are going to the game just so they can see the band. The bands are awesome. And what you see a lot nowadays are bands performing on a bigger stage now. The Macy's parade for Thanksgiving, Savannah State was actually in a parade in California, I believe. So the marching bands are getting a lot of attention. And then in Atlanta, where it's really pretty cool, they have a big band competition where bands from different colleges come into Atlanta to have a great experience and show off their talents and skills, which is pretty cool. So thank you very much. And I think that should be the last slide. Oh man, I keep going. All right, here are the 7 reasons that you should attend a HBCU. So I give you a moment to kind of look at it. So once again, you've got the caring professors. People are going to pay attention to who you are and the things that you want. It is a first-rate education. Do not let anyone tell you different. The classes and extracurricular activities So you do have a lot of opportunities to do intramural sports if you do not want to play sports in college. Supportive atmosphere. And believe it or not, it's a lot of diversity on the campus. You will be empowered through your HBCU experience. You'll be empowered to be a difference maker, someone who is doing something in your community and making a difference for others. Once again, I'm Joseph Boston Jr. I really have enjoyed talking to you about life on campus. Hey, bye.
Oh, 6.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Bostic. I can remember when I ventured down to one of those homecomings there. It was quite an experience. So we're going to keep our show moving. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, it is time for our panel discussion. I'm going to introduce to you our moderators for this evening, starting with Mr. Clark Montgomery, a two-time HBCU graduate from South Carolina State and Bowie State University, and a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Our second moderator is Miss Sarah Kennard from Livingstone College. She's an alumni. And Miss Julie Tannen Stevens, a graduate of Cheney University and Bowie State, and also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Moderators, take it away.
All right, I can't think of a better way to celebrate Black History Month than to celebrate the HBCUs. And I'm really glad to be here today along with Troy. Is Troy in the house?
Troy is in the house.
Troy is in the house. All right. Troy and I will be asking some questions of Monique Reese. I'm hoping Monique is here. Charles Hicks, Alexis Costin, and Sharon Carlton. I want Troy, you think they're ready? Are they ready for us?
Oh, I think they're ready.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to ask the first question. Where is Monique?
I am right here. Hello.
Okay, Monique. I see you're Reverend Johnson C. Smith.
Yes.
I would like to ask you, what were some campus activities and clubs and or events that you participated in for fun while at Johnson C. Smith?
So first, outside of me participating, I enjoyed the football games, the basketball games, everything that everybody's been talking about, the drum line, you know, even though I don't watch football, you sat there waiting for that halftime show. And I enjoyed the halftime show so much my freshman year that my sophomore year, I actually became one of the dance girls for the halftime show. So that was like my most memorable experience. Later, I became an AKA as well. So shout out to my AKA friends online right now. But engaging in some of those activities, enjoying the block parties when you're playing spades and learning how to play spades out on the block, going to some of those school parties, they would have a little bus come pick us up, a little shuttle, and ride us to different campus parties around the neighborhood. So I really enjoyed just really participating in those things and being around people who kind of share the same traditions that I have in my family.
Well, thank you, Monique. And I hope you'll hang around for some next questions that we may have for you.
Yes, I will.
What about Charles? Charles, can you answer that question for us?
Yes. Hello, everyone. SU in the building. All right. So I think some of the clubs I joined, I remember being in a club called Real Men Teach. And it was a group basically recruiting young Black men into the education field and basically preparing us for lesson plans, time management, classroom management, things of that nature. Because at that time, it was a lot of, women in education. So it was like, you know what, let's bring our brothers together and see if we can be a team. And it was one of the greatest experiences. It actually kept me into the education field.
Interesting. Thank you. Troy, I think you have some questions for Charles.
I do, Charles. So I know the dorm situation can be, it can go from the Ritz-Carlton to to almost a shack. At least that's how it was in Morehouse. You had to get your money in on time. Right. So what was campus housing like? And how did that help, how did that physical environment help your social, emotional well-being and just social life in general?
My freshman year, I definitely stayed in Brown Hall. That was the all boys dorm. And it just taught me how to fellowship with other brothers of, my age, definitely within my major. I remember just going upstairs to fifth floor. I remember it was a guy, he was selling like chicken sandwiches and hot dogs because the Ram Shack had closed at a certain time. So, as college kids, we hungry. So we trying to figure out where to go eat, but you didn't have a car. I remember going, down to the first floor with some of the football players playing spades. That's where I learned how to play spades. So it actually just taught me how to, bond and actually communicate with each other. I mean, we were sharing, we had the showers, we were sharing rooms. I remember my roommate was my friend from my neighborhood. So it was an easy transition. But it definitely taught you how to kind of get out there on your own and be your own person.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Charles. Yeah, luckily I went to college with I went to Sherwood High School, and another one of my classmates went to Morehouse with me. So we we were real tight that first couple months. So let's just keep it going. Yeah, you got to have those connections, but a little bit of home is always nice too.
Yes.
Well, this is a question I have for Alexis. Alexis, what were some of the things that students like you loved about your college? And if Alexis isn't here to answer that question, Charles, you think you can answer it?
Could you repeat that for him? I'm so sorry.
Yes. What are some things that students loved about Winston-Salem State?
I would say it was close knit. We always joke about A&T G-Ho that had the greatest homecoming. It was very big, and I always say, well, at least at our homecoming, we knew everybody that was there. But it was definitely a family. We are Rams, so we say Ramley. I mean, you can just hit any building on campus, and you knew a professor, you knew staff, you knew people that worked in the cafe. It was just real close. So I love going back because, like, I remember Tamara saying it's like her second home. That was definitely my second home.
Thank you. Julie and Clark, do you want us to keep going?
No, we
absolutely not.
We are ready. So once again, my name is Julie Tannen Stevens, and I represent Cheney University and Bowie State University.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clark Montgomery, and I am a proud two-time Bulldog, South Carolina State University and Bowie State University, and also representing the Brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, 06.
08. All right. Well, Monique, we're going to go back to you. You attended Johnson C. Smith University. What benefits of attending an HBCU, and what is the benefit of that? And what experience in particular did you have that just really stood out for you?
Yes, I would say I went to Johnson C. Smith, and I also went to a non-HBCU for my master's. And I would say my most memorable experience is definitely Johnson C. Smith, just that sense of belonging, being around people that not only look like me, but also shared my same traditions. When you leave a HBCU, you develop, and I know we've heard this multiple times, those longtime friends. And I remember meeting my long-term friends during the orientation. We met during orientation. We chose the room that we wanted to be roommates. We were right across from each other. When I was sick, they took care of me. We were looking for jobs. We reached out to each other, and they're still friends to right now. And I've heard people talk about HBCUs also opening the job doors. And when you start going into the workforce and getting jobs, for me, this also had me open the door for me meeting my spouse. So we went to the same school, never spoke. When we came here, we formed that bond, we connected, and I actually found out that his parents also went to Johnson C. Smith. So it opens the doors to not only jobs, but maybe a future spouse later down the road.
Monique, Monique, one of the questions that we thought about was there is a perception that there is a lack of academic rigor at HBCUs. How would you describe your academic experience and preparation for the workforce?
So I would say, again, I went to 2 different schools, one for my bachelor's and one for my master's, and there was no difference. I would say for Johnson C. Smith, I just had a sense of belonging. I felt free to make mistakes and felt comfortable because my professors, they really developed a relationship with me. They supported me and they invested in me. I was an elementary education major, and during my classes where I learned about education, I learned a lot of content knowledge that I still apply today. All the educators know that you have to take a praxis test, which is a really difficult test. And my school actually required that test for you to graduate. All of my classes at Johnson C. Smith prepared me to take that praxis. I only had to take it one time, and that's in reading, writing, and math skills. And so the school prepared me to take that test. They also allowed me to have a real world experience by allowing me to do student teaching opportunities. So I was able to apply all that content knowledge and that theory to actual real life. For the whole last semester of my senior year, I was working in a school and had that student teaching experience. And my professors that worked directly with me, they gave me feedback. They pushed me so that I could become a great teacher and later become an assistant principal, which I didn't know that was my pathway. So they definitely prepare you for your career that you are planning to choose later on in life.
Monique, I would agree with you that the academic rigor at an HBCU is an understatement. I remember one of my professors, Miss Eloise Belcher, who was a classmate of Lena Horne at Spelman College. And every time she would give us our papers back, they would be bleeding of red.
Yes.
But it was the history of the English language. And you knew that although she had high expectations, that when you left out of Ms. Belcher's class, who was an AKA, she came with 50 colors, but you left with so much knowledge.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing with us tonight.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So Charles, you attended Winston-Salem State University and you were actively involved in a lot of different things. But what, in your opinion, is one of the top reasons that freshmen are not successful in their first year of college?
I would say time management. Definitely manage your time well, knowing when to balance hanging out with your friends, when to study, what time you get in your first class. If you're not a morning person, I wouldn't get a 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock class. Studying, your study habits. One of the biggest things I tell my students is, when I was in college undergrad, I kind of just wanted to hang out with my friends a lot. And I remember that one time I said, I can't do this anymore. I got to get my work done. So I went to the library and they were calling my phone, like, where you at? Where you at? Come hang out. And I was like, I got to get this work done. And I was locked in on doing that. And when I got my work done, I called them and was like, where you guys at? They hadn't even left to go wherever we were going. And I was like, see, if I would have went, I would have missed out on doing my work, been late on an assignment. So really, time management, study habits, definitely when you get into those freshman classes, if you're struggling, get in those study groups, get with somebody in your class that understands the work. I know I struggled in linear algebra and I sat down with a classmate. I was like, I got to figure this out. And she actually broke it down to me. And I passed that class with an A, surprisingly. But definitely time management.
Yes.
Charles, someone wrote in the someone wrote in the chat that they were dating you by those beepers instead of cell phones and so forth.
Right.
So if there was anything you could change about Winston-Salem State and your experience, if anything at all, what would it be?
I think I would probably get more involved in more academic clubs. Just hearing everybody speak and know friends that I had, it just propelled them to do great things in life, in those connections that they made on campus, SGA, those clubs that promote homecoming. So I think just being more involved in other activities in clubs.
Thank you so much to Monica, Monique, and to Charles. And I'm so glad that I went to South Carolina State singing Glory, Hallelujah. I'm so glad I went to an HBCU. So we're going to turn this show back over to Shawan and Troy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for that. Final wardrobe change of the evening, representing University of Maryland Eastern Shore, where I currently attend as a doctoral student in the education department and ed leadership. And so I just wanted to say that learning never stops. It continues and always push yourself and continue to grow. I know I have some fellow Hawks on this Zoom this evening, and so just represent, give me a shout out, whatever you have. We're going to turn it over and hear more from fellow MCPS staff that attended HBCUs. So we're going to hear more about their experience.
So
HBCUs, they're a family. HBCUs, they see you.
What I took away from the HBCU experience was H means home.
The HBCUs nourish you from a social emotional standpoint.
My supervisor, who was there for the residence hall I lived in, gave his phone number to my parents. So I'm 23 years old, and he gave his phone number to my parents and said, if you need anything, you call me and I'll make sure that he's okay, he's taken care of while he's having this experience here.
They cheer for you. HBCUs, they were designed specifically for students that look like me.
From the college president to my professors, to the student body, to the people in the cafeteria, even the groundskeepers were Black and brown faces. I had never seen that before.
When I think about the BC in HBCU, I think about Black culture. I think about learning some things that I did not know about my own culture.
To be a part of the majority was just an experience that was extremely empowering. From the care of the professors to engaging on an intellectual level with my peers who looked like me, who shared similar experiences as me, propelled me into a place of confidence, of self-assurance. I didn't realize that I was missing until I was on the campus of Hampton University.
The U stands for unity. And I would say that in the context of once you graduate from an HBCU, you are always part of that university.
Then to establish the camaraderie with members from other HBCUs, Spelman and Morehouse, Howard, North Carolina A&T. There's a family bond there.
They went as individuals and they left as family.
The HBCU is a great place to go because those connection points are like no other.
People often made the argument, why do you want to go to HBCU? It's not the real world. Ladies and gents, let me tell you, no college is the real world. Whether you're at Harvard, Yale, or somewhere else, they're designed that way. They're designed to be insular, where it's a place of academic and intellectual enrichment. HBCUs are no different.
For 4 years, I was in this culture and this space that was so different than what I experienced.
It was a place where the people there genuinely loved me. They genuinely uplifted me. It was a place that had a focus for being leader of America in the global community. And I knew that that's what I wanted.
My parents had always told me I could be anything I want. And at Morehouse, that dream came true. They backed it up. And so we're going to be back with our panelists. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts about HBCUs. And one thing that I learned at HBCU, I thought I was grown going to college. And I think Daryl mentioned this, you know, his his dorm person gave his parents their number, but I missed class one day. I was taking a class at Spelman, and Dr. Gloria Wade Gales found me later on that afternoon because I decided I was going to go hang out at the bookstore, which is what we did on Fridays, and miss her class. She saw me later on and said, "Mr. Body, I hope you had a good time, but don't you ever miss my class again." And I didn't. So it is like family, and people are looking out for you because they want you to be successful. So one experience that I did not have in college, and maybe that I'm finished with working and I've just got my PhD, maybe I'll have to venture into the world of Greek life. But can somebody explain, one of our panelists explain, what is the Divine Nine? And this question wasn't assigned to anybody, but I wanted to set it up so that the next set of questions make sense for our audience. So what is the Divine Nine? Can somebody just give us a, oh, there you are. Give us a quick explanation.
Okay, so really quickly, what it is there are fraternities and sororities that are historically Black, and there are 5 different fraternities, and there are 4 different sororities. This group comes together, and the group called the National Pan-Atlantic Council, and they are unified in their understanding of how they support the Black community, Black causes, different sort of networking, and it also helps out with a lot of other areas as far as working with universities and helping people all around in the Black community.
Thank you. That was a really good, concise explanation. So now, Sharon, did you join an organization when you were in undergrad?
Yes, I did. I joined Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, where we are celebrating 100 years, 2022, from 1922. So yes, I did.
And so what inspired you to do that? I know, you know, I have friends that are legacies and those kind of things. So what was your inspiration for joining your sorority?
My inspiration was I saw the work that they were doing on campus. They did a lot of community activities. They did different things like blood drives. They worked with voting rights, getting people out to vote. They did a lot of work where they were trying to make sure that the younger students in the community had role models. They had different outreaches that they did with the alumni chapters, where they really tried to develop teenagers and get them to the point where they could really be a part of our rural program. And that program helps them to really become ladies of class and really to work towards being people of impact. And so that's where I saw I could fit myself in, because as I was studying to be a teacher, I had the connection with the youth that I wanted to be impactful in what I could say and do and how I could educate them. And because, of course, this is 7 founders who are teachers, it was even more of an impact for me. So.
You just
well, I have a question for Sharon. Sharon, you talked about the Divine Nine. What are some benefits of joining organizations in general?
Well, I think first of all, I say the sisterhood. I, to this day, am very close with my sisters. They used to be line sisters, but now they're not. Times have changed. So we definitely always encourage each other. We are able to network with each other. We receive different opportunities through the way that we work in the different fields. So we also have, the other thing is, I think over the years, as you become, further into your career, you reach back to those who are behind you that are brand new to coming into this whole sisterhood, and you help them. So anytime these sisters come to different locations, cities, events, you link up, you offer your place, you make sure that they get a good footing, you recommend different locations for them to work, to live, so you try to acclimate them, and you step into a role where you're a sister forever. So I really think that it's something that I get into because I'm a helpful person by nature. But even though that is so, it's even more so because these are my sisters, and we're sisters all around the world internationally.
All right, thank you.
That was another good one. And earlier we talked about the benefits in terms of professional career of attending an HBCU. So how does being a part of the Divine Nine help you in your professional career?
Well, it definitely helped me to get my foot in certain doors. So the way I was able to, just quickly lean on a couple of my sorors, they were able to make connections for me with some other fraternity brothers that they, were friends with. And so as it were, it ended up being a smooth transition. We kind of call it, it's kind of a slang term, but leaning on the shield is what it's called. But I basically called my network who called their network. And so out of that, I received different interviews, different calls, was able to get my foot in the door. Of course, they're not going to do everything for you. You have to do some parts for yourself, but it helps you to really get that feel. The other thing is, because you're in that HBCU, I have a couple things going on. The HBCU and the Alumni chapter that I'm also a part of, Baltimore Metro chapter, I bring all that to the table. So I'm able to take that network from Norfolk State University and bring that also with whatever I need to do with whatever industry that I need to go into. All of these people are from all over the place, but they all come together based on the Norfolk State principles. We all went to Norfolk State at different times. That also brings everything to the table when it comes to that as well. Because now I have not only my sorority network, but I also have the Norfolk State network and the alumni network. So I bring all those together, and I'm able to have a full, great life. A lot of events, a lot of fun, enjoyment, linking up, sisterhood, great stuff.
I like
Sharon,
that.
since you're on a...
Go ahead, Sarah.
I'm sorry, Troy.
No, go ahead.
Sharon, since you're on a roll, I have something juicy for you to answer.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, here we go. Based on your experience during your time, what were some of the qualifications for admissions?
Mm-hmm.
And did you have to take any honors, AP or college prep courses in order to get into your school? And if so, did you find them useful? So admissions,
okay.
And did you have to take those honors courses?
Okay, so when I was in high school, I was an honors and AP student. In fact, I think my last year in high school, I took AP calculus. And so when I got to Norfolk State, we had to do a placement test. That placement test helped me to score in the highest of maths that they actually had. And so it really allowed me to start higher than what my program called for. So that actually made me skip all of the other courses that I would have had to take before it, and then be able to jump right to the top. So I always recommend that you take those honor and AP courses, because they give you a leg up on the rigor, but it also lets you have the freedom to really be able to apply it everywhere. Because I think sometimes when you're in those classes, teachers call for you to think more critically about, you're not just doing the equation, but where else could you see this applying? And so because it's a universal principle, what ends up happening is that you can expand your understanding. So when you take those tests, you can apply it easily. And it's just like clockwork. It's not even, it's like second nature. And so that's what I felt. I felt so comfortable taking that placement test because of the preparation I had in high school. That's why I encourage students to do that.
And I just want to throw this out. So I know a lot of my friends have been taking their children on college tours. Did any of our panelists visit your college or colleges before making a final choice?
I did. I definitely did. I went to Norfolk State for the when they had the weekends. So when they did the weekends where you had, you come on Friday, you stay Saturday, Sunday, we went through a whole set of paces. We did our placement test. We did our, touring the campus. They did a step show. They did all of this stuff. But I knew when I woke up on Sunday morning that Norfolk State was my school. Because as soon as I got up that morning, I was so excited about what other activities they were going to close us out with. And I knew that feeling was going to stay with me. It felt like you found your place. And it was just an expression to me that Norfolk State was calling, and I was going to answer that call.
And we're glad you did.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
You know, I think I was a late bloomer. I was an average student in school, and I only applied to one college. I was so glad Livingstone let me come in because I was a C student, and I think I bloomed a bit better there. For any of the panelists, did you have a long list of schools that you applied to, or were you like me? Did you just choose one?
So I chose a few schools. I applied to John C. Smith. I applied to, Clark Atlanta. But, it comes down to that financial aid package that you get. And John C. Smith had the right numbers. And without seeing it, they had already set up the orientation. So my mother felt like, and we felt like this was an organized school. When we went down there, we had the package. We went to the orientation. This is where I was moving towards. And so I had friends that attended John C. Smith. So I already had some background knowledge. I knew about the school, and I was excited to go, but I had not visited the campus beforehand. I just went by what people told me about the school. And I actually had not even really went outside the DC area. I grew up in DC. I had not really traveled until after John C. Smith. It opened the doors to many experiences of traveling with my friends to different things during that college lifetime.
So I applied to three. I applied to Fayetteville State, Central, and Winston-Salem State. And Fayetteville State and Central got back to me like ASAP. And I was like, what's going on with Winston? I was like, something got to be up there at Winston that I don't know about. Like, why they're not accepting me. And kind of like you, Monique, I hadn't visited Winston before. So I remember calling. And they were like, "Oh, you got accepted. I don't know what happened." And I was like, I was so excited because I remember watching Winston-Salem State on TV during the CIAA, about to win the championship, and I was like, I got to go there because I want to go hoop there. Like the team is awesome, and a big piece of it why I went to Winston is because I needed a little space away from home. Fayetteville State was like 20 minutes from the house. I think Central was like 45 minutes to an hour. And I was like, I got to get a little bit farther away because if I'm close to home, I'm going to be tempted to come back home often, hang around with my friends from high school, things of that nature. So I needed to get away and kind of experience being on my own, but not too far. So I commend you all that travel out of state to go to, universities. Like, kudos to you all.
So I want to hear from our student panelists. So this next one is for you all. Many colleges and universities solely emphasize the importance of the ACT and SAT. Other than test scores, what were some of the other qualities that your college or university look for?
I think I'll speak on this. Personally, I know that Hampton, they emphasize being the standard of excellence. So a huge part of what they push is having strong character. When I visited there and I was fortunate enough to be invited to an honors visitation weekend. And a lot of the people that I was interacting with were students at the university, and a lot of them were very well spoken. They were only a few years older than me, but it felt like there was such a huge gap in their maturity level, and they look so ready to go out into the world. They're just good people, and I feel like that's a huge part of what they push.
Thank you for sharing that. Were there any things that you did specifically in high school that prepared you, that you think helped get you into Hampton, besides academics and those kind of things?
I would say community service, like things that show that you're a good person, that you give back to the community, that you can contribute to society once you're out of school.
Thank you. Any of our other student panelists want to share their thoughts?
I think I could add on to that actually. For me, when I got to Morgan State, I think one of the things that really helped me in my application process was definitely like my extracurricular activities, things I do outside of school, the things in the community and whatnot. One example is this group I'm part of is called Minority Scholarship Program, or MSP. I think things like that really just showed that I was willing to put in the effort and actually do other things that help my community and things that I care about and whatnot. So I think stuff like extracurricular activities help a lot when it comes to applying to schools.
Thank you. So making sure that, so students out there, make sure that you're involved in lots of different activities. I know for me, I was involved in Student Government Association, and I also was involved in SGA when I was in college, along with some other things. So I think those things are as important to show character and to show that you are a hard worker, and that, again, the theme of HBCUs and our Divine Nine is giving back and lifting up others. Anybody else, any of our other students want to share?
I think I'd like to add one more thing. Okay. Dr. Howard actually reminded me that I'm actually a triple legacy. So my grandparents and my parents both attended Hampton University. My mom's right here. She said.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Sarah, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, that was a great question, a great time. People love to hear students talk, and maybe we could come back to some more later on. Charles, I have a question for you. Well, as we matriculate through college, we learn the importance of relationships and connections. How did you use your relationships and connections before, during, and after your college experience?
Before, I remember applying for teacher scholarship, teaching fellow scholarship in high school. During college, I got to know my dean of the education department. And luckily, you know, when I did that, when she ended up leaving, I was able to use her as a connection. Well, I won't say user, but I was able to have her as a connection for getting my first job in Maryland, which was in Baltimore. She was actually provost at Coppin State. And just being a great student, I was able to, like I said, join RMT. I mean, I have a story behind, you know, my college career, but if it was not for these connections, I probably would have left school and joined the military. But because of these connections, they were like, no, we need you here. We need, you know, a young brother in education. And I was able to get financial aid when I didn't have financial aid. So knowing these certain professors and staff and them knowing other individuals to put me in touch with those individuals, it was a great experience. I wouldn't change it for the world.
All right. So this is again for our students on the current students, HBCU students. So going away to college is a scary thing. I mean, you go and you don't know anybody. You don't know what it's going to be like. You're not going to like it. You're missing your families. So how did you all get through that first semester? How did you connect with new people? How did you get used to the HBCU culture?
Well, I think we're still in high school, so we haven't gone through a semester of college yet.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Yeah, you all haven't.
I could.
All right, let me reframe that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me reframe that. What are you nervous about then in making that transition from high school to college? Sorry about that.
Well, I can speak for myself personally. Like I mentioned before, I was invited to an honors visitation weekend. So I was around students that could potentially be going to Hampton University. And I was also around students there. And once you're there, there's nothing really to be nervous about. Everyone's all in the same boat. They're just trying to get through the next 4 years of their life, trying to go out into the world. And like my grandfather, he always tells me, like, these kids are just like you. they're going through the same experiences. Like you're all like together in college. So just meet new people, talk to people, and build your network.
Your grandfather's a wise man.
I agree.
Sarah, I think you have the next question.
Let's see. Was Alexis here? I don't think Alexis, but I have an interesting little story before we go to, I think, the last question, Troy.
Gotcha.
So when I got my first job ever at Dunbar Senior High School, I replaced a woman, Miss Clara Neal. She went to Livingstone. Now, Livingstone is so small. There were like 300 or 400 of us on the campus, and 93 were in my graduating class. The person she replaced was also a Livingstonian. Then I moved to Kansas City, Missouri, and got a job, and the principal went to Livingstone College. So it's like the HBCU connection and the small college campus connection. You just never know who you're going to run into and who will take you under their wings. I think we just have one more question since Alexis isn't here. And well, I'll throw it out. I'll throw it out for the whole panel. How did your HBCU experience impact your identity? And that's for anyone who wants to answer.
Well, that's a good question.
I can answer that for myself. When I first came to Norfolk State, I really was looking for, who I was as a person, who I was as a woman. And as I started to grow and become through the encouragement of my teachers, I actually found my voice. At first, you know how sometimes you're like listening to what other people say and you just echo it. And that's what you do a lot of times in high school. It's not your original thought. In Norfolk State, it compelled me. The more I learned about poetic writers like Nikki Giovanni and Sonia Sanchez, and we start to think about who they are as phenomenal women, I knew that I had to find my voice. And in that class, I found my voice and wrote my first poem. And from that point on, I have been an orator, I have been a poet, I have just been a writer. And so that's how Norfolk State formed my voice.
That's great. Anybody else?
When I think about the HBCU experience, having gone to a predominantly white high school in South Carolina, I think about when I got to South Carolina State, and I got there because of Dr. Evelyn France, whom I wrote a letter to. And she had the entire packet for me to go to South Carolina State. But one of the things that resonates with me was the relationships that I had with my professors. And even after 30 years of leaving South Carolina State, I still keep in touch with those professors. So I think about the experience in terms of how that has helped me to foster relationship with students of color that I work with, or not even just students of color, but people who have made a difference in my life. And the fact that I remember telling my grandmother, we were sharecroppers in South Carolina. And I said to her, I refuse to do this for the rest of my life. And I remember my grandmother saying, do well in school and you won't have to do this for the rest of your life. And so the reality of it is the relationships that I remember, those professors having, and that people who, and I remember my mother sending boxes to my classmates and me in the dorm, and my classmate working in the dorm bringing us fried chicken back on Sunday afternoons because the cafeteria wasn't serving. So we build relationships with each other. And even 30 years later, we still keep in contact with each other. So it's like a family. And that HBCU experience, nothing can take the place of it. It was so good that my mother would come to homecoming dressed up from New Jersey, and I was kind of embarrassed that she would come in a two-piece suit to homecoming, but she was like, you know, I have to look good coming from New Jersey to South Carolina. And she would always come to South Carolina every year for homecoming because she was like, I just have to see the band. And so it's about the HBCU experience. And just remembering that don't believe the hype that they don't have academic rigor. Those professors were so challenging of us academically that you were prepared to go to any other university wherever you wanted to go. So just the relationships that I think was very important, and they instilled in you what you could do, and regardless of where you went, whether you were the only Black in a public school setting, you were able to perform just like anyone else.
Thank you, Clark. I know one of the ways in which in my HBCU impacted my life, one of the ways was in my career as the director of equity. I remember once being asked by a white educator, when I asked, what can we do to help, move this work forward? And they said, can we see, I'd love to see videos and places where Black students achieve. And I looked and I thought, and I couldn't say what I wanted to say, but we look around these squares, and this is Black excellence. And HBCUs exposes us to the excellence of our people. And that guided my work, and hopefully continues to guide all of our work as we impact students and families every day. This is excellence, and HBCUs provides us with the education that helps us change the world. So Sarah and Clark, thank you all for helping us out and leading this this panel. And I'm going to turn it back over. Actually, I'm going to put on my other hat as co-host, and me and my co-host are going to close this on out and leave with some final remarks.
All right. Thank you all for that. I want to, thank everyone for being here tonight, and hopefully that you gain more insight about, HBCUs, and you learned from experiences that were shared this evening. Before we wrap up, I do want to introduce 3 very important women that were instrumental in, bringing this whole experience to light for us, in addition to a full committee. But I want to introduce Ms. Lauren Holmes. She is a co-president of MCABSE. She is also an alum of Howard University. I want to introduce Ms. Kimberly Perlman, co-president of MCABSE, and she is an alum of the University of Maryland, College Park. And Dr. Karen Cruz, current Director of Student Wellbeing and Achievement in MCPS, and an alum of Howard University and Bowie State. And I'll turn it over to Lauren and Kim.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shawan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. And hopefully you left with more than you came with. And I will say, for our students that are here, I think, when you think about HBCUs, just think about the fact that attending a HBCU is guaranteed to yield favorable results for the rest of your life. You will leave with more than you came with. And it is an experience that will cover you in success forever. And so if you think about that next step, thinking about it as a college-bound student, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? We are telling you, elevating HBCUs and telling you that if you want to be dipped in success, then take that next journey and go to an HBCU. And for all of our attendees that are here, we really appreciate, thank you for sharing your story. We appreciate you and just celebrating and covering our students and encouraging our students to attend an HBCU. And I think that, one thing that I want to leave you with, and we'll share some information in the chat, is that one thing that we can say is that when you give to an HBCU, you're sowing into good ground. And so we encourage all of our attendees attendees here tonight to continue to sow into HBCUs, whether that's with your time, with your words, you know, by investing or donating to MCABSE, because we turn around and give the money right back to our students. And so this is a beautiful cycle of family and of love. And so we want to just thank you again for coming tonight. And I will pass the mic over to my co-president, Ms. Kim Perlman.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. This was an inspiring event, and I hope you gathered some good information. You're starting to write down, oh, I want to go to this school, I want to go to that school, and you'll make the decision that is best for you and your family. So thank you again for attending this event. Please remember a few things to make sure you sign up and register for the HBCU Fair. That's this Friday. There are also some other seminars, events that you might want to be interested in. So please take the time to look in the chat and look for those links and register. And thank you oh so much for attending tonight. We hope you enjoyed this wonderful event.
All right, and I'm Dr. Cruz. I'm just going to say a few things. First of all, what a time this has been. This has been an amazing event. You know, some of the things that I heard tonight were words like networking, nurturing, lasting friendships, high academic expectation. And so these are all things that we want all of our students to remember when we talk about HBCUs. You know, tonight's event was really, you know, the kickoff really to our HBCU week of events. If you are a student athlete, join us tomorrow, you know, to learn more about NCAA and life as an athlete at an HBCU. Then on Friday, as Kim has stated, we are going to have our 14th annual HBCU Fair. And during that fair, you will have an opportunity to talk with HBCU admissions representatives at virtual booths. We will have several workshops, including a Divine Nine panel discussion, and you learned about what the Divine Nine is tonight. And they're going to talk about fraternities and sororities, and also the many scholarship opportunities that are offered by these organizations. So please, please come out, learn more about all of those opportunities. If you haven't already registered, we'll put the link again in the chat and you can register there. I also want to just say a big thank you to all the panelists that are here tonight and all of the HBCUs that are represented, all the fraternities and sororities that are represented. Just big thank you to all of you. Thank you to Lauren Holmes and Kimberly Perlman for just organizing this amazing event. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.